Hello everyone, marhaba ya Qatar. Apa khabar anda semua? You're watching the Footy Forum Qatar World Cup 2022, and joining me tonight will be three gentlemen who are accustomed to discussions of football. Two of them with technical background, one a former team manager. As the 1000 Arabian Nights comes to a close as we enter the semi-final stages, can Morocco, the Atlas Lions, go the distance? And who is the greatest among them all? Is it Lionel Messi? Or is it Cristiano Ronaldo? Or is it someone else? Tonight we'll be discussing these issues. But before that, drop some creative and fun comments to stand a chance to win exclusive prizes from Sinar Daily and our sponsors. Nak tahu nak ada apa dah ni? Ada kacang, ada tumbler, umbrella. What else? You guys stand the chance of taking this home if you drop some creative comments in our Facebook page or also YouTube. Okay, let me introduce to you the three privileged gentlemen to be invited for tonight's show. The 8th episode with me, Rizal Hashim as the host. On my right is Saad Ichalalene, former Technical Director of National Football Development Plan, NFDP. Welcome to the show, Saad.
Thanks to you, Rizal.
Yes.
Happy to be here. Thank
you. Thank you very much. And beside Saad is Mr. Zakaria Rahim, former Selangor team manager for the year 2008, or was it 2009 or 2010?
2008, 2010.
Also, okay, I guess you're not that old. And the extreme right will be Mr. Peter De Roo, Balestier Khalsa coach, who happens to be the former FA of Malaysia Technical Director. Thank you, Peter, for coming all the way from Singapore or from Netherlands?
No, from Singapore.
From Singapore, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And as I introduced the show just now, that we'll be discussing not only the semi-final stages but a review of what has happened throughout the entire campaign of the World Cup. And I guess all three have been keeping tabs or have been watching the tournament. Who would you consider as the surprise package of the tournament? Can we start with Peter maybe?
Yeah, I would say probably Morocco, but I don't think if it was really a surprise. Maybe when you look at their last World Cup, which wasn't too successful, but when you look at the players they have, I think the surprise was also a little bit that they changed coaches not that long ago, which also meant two players came back, to be honest. But the biggest surprise for me is actually their consistency in performances, because they're the only team that probably performed every single game. There's a lot of teams still in the tournament who've had one or two bad games, and a few are, because of that, favourites already home. So yeah, to me I would say Morocco with some exceptional players, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Zach? Mr. Zach Rahim?
Yeah, I share a view with Peter. It's Morocco is the surprise package, but it's not only a surprise, but it's a well-motivation package from a country from Africa who motivated the nations in Asia and also in Africa as well. But bear in mind, the last surprise was Korea when they go through to semi-final. That was the best performance from the Asia team.
That was 20 years ago?
Yeah. But Korea was a joint organizer, joint host. But now Morocco is not a host. They are not hosts, but they have made really surprise, and they have killed almost all the giants in football world, which is Belgium, Croatia, draw with them, Spain, and the neighbor of Spain, Portugal. These are all football nations. And I don't think Morocco is a football nation, but they are coming up.
Morocco is not a football nation. Morocco is a football nation.
No, when we talk about football nation, it's like Brazil, which produce a lot of players throughout the world.
Yes.
And they are playing. They are talking about football. Italy, Unfortunately, they are not in the World Cup, but they are football nation.
You would be surprised how popular football in Morocco is, by the way.
Yeah, I've not been to Morocco yet.
Let them not hear it. Let them not hear it.
As compared to La Liga, EPL, Portuguese League, we know nothing about Morocco League. And most of the players in Morocco, I mean 14 players in Morocco team right now were born outside. Yeah. Only 12 were Moroccan born.
I'm sure Saad does not agree with you.
All right.
Okay, come. Let's have your thoughts.
No, I get his point. I get his point.
Yes. The surprise package of the tournament, would it be Morocco or South Korea or Japan?
I would say surprised by the results. Yes, Morocco into the semi-finals is something new for the world of football. But as Peter said, if you look deep into the team, you will notice that there are some high-level players.
Yes.
And they have been really consistent through the group stage and also for the knockout games. But if you look at the 2018 World Cup, Morocco also performed really well.
Yep.
Of course, they didn't qualify for the round of 16, but they were on par with Spain, Portugal, and Iran during the group stage. So this is not really a surprise because they have some top-level players. But of course, if you look at the results, it's quite surprising.
At that time, it was Rena. Rena was the Moroccan coach.
Yeah, it was Hervé Renard and with Patrice Baumel, which is a close friend to me.
Close friend of yours. Yes. Okay. You have Algerian and Moroccan blood in you.
Yeah, my mother is Moroccan.
Your mother is Moroccan, so you are biased in your judgment.
No, that's fine because we play against France.
So whatever happens, you will be in the final.
Let's say this.
Okay. Morocco, a footballing nation or not?
Yeah, of course. Football is really, really popular in Morocco. You can go anywhere and see players playing in the streets, kids or whatever. I guess if you watch a derby between Wydad Casablanca and Raja Casablanca, which is one of the most impressive in the world.
Intense rivalry.
Which has beaten them in 1980.
Maybe. So this one,
But then we lost in the final, 2-1.
And we lost in Germany.
1981.
And we lost in the Olympic Germany.
That was years ago. Okay, so you were saying?
No, I said this is, of course, a football country. There is nothing to say about that. But then to find them at that level, of course, is surprising for anyone because semi-finals of World Cup is something.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at the roots of the country, the football culture, the players that play abroad, of course, it's a big performance, but something that is not as surprising as it looks.
Yes, okay. The biggest disappointment, Peter, the biggest disappointment of the tournament so far?
Well, of course, this country.
No, but at least
I'll finish with that one because that hurts the most now. Obviously Germany, going home early, and also when you look
for the second successive time, from the group stages.
But I think it was also a little bit disappointing how they played. And I actually felt sorry for the guy up front, the number 10. What's his name? The 19-year-old.
Musiala. Jamal Musiala.
He has been amazing.
He was the best performer in there.
Yeah, well, any team, he would play in any team, I think, as a starter. What a player. Spain, probably, because when you saw them in the first game,
7-0 win over Costa Rica.
Yeah, but also, I didn't expect that. And then I don't want to talk about disappointments after reaching the final 8, because when you look at those games, there was not any game except maybe Morocco where there was a clear better team. Sorry, I mean Argentina, Holland in the end could have gone either way. England, France could have gone either way. Brazilian, Croatia. But sometimes that happens, and I think that's very nice to see in this tournament, how close it all is. In saying that, another disappointment for me personally was, of course, Holland. And not that they get knocked out on penalties by Argentina, because that can happen. Happened before against Argentina, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But I was disappointed in the way they played. I thought that was very, very, on Dutch. I read today somewhere in the paper where a journalist, no, a former coach said, Germany went out the Dutch way, and Holland went out the German way. So that was, that was disappointing. I mean, Van Gaal has been coaching this squad for 20 games, and he has not lost one single game.
Yes. Yes.
When you look at the performances,
and losing to
in the Nations League, we beat every top country in Europe and played well.
Yeah.
But I can't say of any of the games that I played in this tournament, also not in the group stage, that I thought, so I was disappointed. I mean, you can lose on penalties, but the performance of Holland.
Yeah, we'll talk about Netherlands later. Zach, biggest disappointment?
In football perspective, it's Brazil, because everybody knows that Brazil, number one, they are number one nation in football in the FIFA ranking.
Yeah.
And then they have been performing very well in the qualifying stage, and they have been favourite all the time for this time around, and they have very balanced players in the team. And well, being a favourite, sometimes not only football, sports are quite cruel to the sportsmen and sportswomen, whereby when you have been put as a favourite, but it's, when you talk about World Cup football, in 90 minutes for that particular game, you don't do very well, then you will lose.
Yes, yes.
Unlike Morocco, even they have won with Belgium, but they don't overjoy. Yeah, they celebrate for that particular day and they come back. They are not
they did not celebrate by dancing.
They are not like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, they have beaten Argentina, but they got carried away with the celebration.
Yes.
And the match after that, they can't repeat what they have done to Argentina. But Morocco, even though they have they went until 120 minutes in the game before Portugal, and they won, and they've beaten another top 5 of the world ranking. But they don't get carried away with victory, and they have to meet another big giant team in the world, Portugal, and they've beaten in only 90 minutes.
Yes.
So you see, sometimes sport is quite cruel, but that's football. Yeah. That's sports.
Saad?
I guess I could say the same as my two friends here, but I will also add Belgium.
Belgium. So-called golden generation.
Yeah, and
infighting maybe? Courtois and De Bruyne?
Yeah, of course they didn't qualify, but they didn't play any single good games.
Yeah.
I mean, they were dominated against Morocco, against Croatia, against Canada. And if you had on top, some internal problem, within the team, of course the atmosphere was not as good, some fight, as you mentioned. I believe it's a big disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Goal of the tournament. Peter.
Oh my God.
Richarlison maybe, or Neymar, or Salim Al-Dosari, Saudi Arabia against Argentina, or the free kick by Marcus Rashford.
No.
Or you have any goal in
I'll probably
particular?
take the easy way out, the Richarlison.
Richarlison, the scissors kick.
Yeah.
Yep. Against Serbia, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. Zach?
I have two. One is Richarlison.
The game against Serbia.
And the Moroccan player, what was his name? The one
header
against Portugal.
Al-Nesri, the striker.
How to pronounce it?
Al-Nesri,
right? The striker.
From Sevilla.
He jumped.
That was a header.
The highest. I mean, he jumped higher than Ronaldo did before.
Well, talking about headers, how about that one from Pepe? That was not bad either.
That was from a corner, right?
But he had to fly to it. And he's not the youngest anymore. That was so perfect.
Almost 40.
You're not talking about the one that he missed at the last minute against Morocco, right?
No, that was so well timed.
What about you, Saad?
Yeah, I would say Richarlison, but not the first one against Serbia. I would say the one against South Korea.
Yes.
Because the way he
the combination,
3 headers, if I'm not mistaken, before the third man combination was amazing.
Yes.
So overall, it was a quite beautiful goal. Yeah.
What about the Neymar goal?
It was amazing as well.
Yeah.
You have a few beautiful goals during the competition. Yeah.
Against Croatia.
Against Croatia. Yeah. Okay, now as we are fully aware, Ronaldo was shown the door together with Portugal. After that defeat against Morocco, but he has managed to accumulate the highest number of caps, 196. You must remember, a Malaysian was the former holder of the biggest, the highest cap.
Yeah,
That was Sochin
I know.
An at 195.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should give them, give Ronaldo a tribute for not a fitting swan song for him, but a sad exit for the star. Peter?
Yeah, but I think the tone was already set a little bit earlier. Because I see similar behaviour as I've seen at Manchester United, and you can be the biggest star in the world, but at some point you got to understand that you play in a team as well, and I think he failed to do that, and that's why I think it's very sad that you go out like this, because a career like that deserves a good ending. But I think he realized that probably too late, because his behavior in the last game was the best I've ever seen him on the bench.
Yes, on the
and
bench.
Actually going to the sideline and celebrate with his teammates. I think he probably got a wake-up call, but a little bit too late. And it's sad that a player like that goes out like this a little bit. But it doesn't take away from anything that he has done the 99% of his career.
Yeah. Zach?
I think Ronaldo is one of the best football player that been produced in football world. But to give tribute to him, I'm alright with that, because when I managed Selangor team in 2008 and 2009, especially 2009, I keep on telling to the players that your body is your asset as a footballer. So you must keep your body. And one of the best examples is Ronaldo. He really keep his body to ensure that he can perform well, and he knows that there is where money come. That is where his fortune come. He want to live happily with his family and want to come out from the poverty that what his family has went through. So to footballers, they must take Ronaldo as their best example to how to protect, how to keep your body as a footballer.
Okay. Saad? Ronaldo?
Has he announced that he's top or not yet?
Not yet, but it's maybe last final. The final World Cup match for him.
Because he
but
said
he has
that
not retired.
If I win the World Cup, I will stop. Because I believe that now they're closer to maybe change coach, that maybe change him. So we never know. Because if you look at him, I agree actually. Because if you look at him physically, he doesn't have the body of a guy of this age. He's still really on top physically. He's on top physically. So it shows you also that maybe there is a small problem of confidence, because he did the same. He performed the same way in United the last few months that he performed now, but physically he's on top. So it shows you how it is important to be in confidence, even for players like Ronaldo.
Even for a player of his status.
It's mad, because now physically he's still on top, I believe, but still could not perform since many months.
Okay, a short one between Messi and Ronaldo. Peter?
They are the two that always are being compared. I don't think we really can. If you ask me to pick one, that would be Messi always.
Messi always?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think that is a personal opinion.
Okay.
But I look at pure football qualities in terms of decision making and technique. Ronaldo has a lot of that, but also has his physique with him and his goal scoring abilities. But even now, when I see a pass in a game against Holland where Argentina scored,
that through
he's
ball,
probably only one of the players who could actually
perform
see that and execute it.
Messi,
and I think that makes him, for me, the better player.
Zach?
Messi and Ronaldo they are best football player in the world, and I would go for Messi because he's a team player. Because football is played by 11 people on the 11 players on the field. So Messi more team player than Ronaldo.
I will go for Messi as well.
Oh, all three going for opting for Messi.
Yeah, because I believe
just because he has the chance of lifting the World Cup, as opposed to Ronaldo.
Well, they need to start playing then, because the way they've been playing now, there's no chance that they will lift the World Cup.
But you never know.
That's true.
That's true. Not at all, because I just believe that he can do more things. as a fan, as a passionate
as an individual.
football, yeah, he can dribble, he can pass, he can score, he can contribute to the game, he can come a little bit lower on the field to combine with his teammates. Yeah, I do believe he's more complete, but of course, Ronaldo was a scoring machine, and the way he evolved through the years from a winger to a pure striker was amazing.
From number 11 to number 9 to number 10, you know, he has that ability.
He was not at the beginning the same type of player that he was at the
I'm sure fans of Ronaldo would not agree with the three of you, but let's go for a short break.
We don't care.
Before we stay tuned as we review a brief review of the quarterfinal matches. Stay tuned.
Back to basics.
Follow the Footy Forum for the latest from Qatar.
Check out the Sinar Daily social media platforms for the showtimes.
Stay tuned to the Footy Forum all the way till the final.
Red White, back to basics.
Welcome back to the Footy Forum Qatar World Cup 2022. Jangan lupa to drop some creative and fun comments. Anda boleh tinggalkan sebarang komen yang kreatif, yang mungkin menggelikan hati dan peluang untuk memenangi hadiah-hadiah eksklusif daripada Sinar Daily dan juga penaja-penaja kami. Okey, dan juga jangan lupa untuk menyertai peraduan Kau-Kau World Cup. Untuk menyertai beli 3 pack snack kacang Kau-Kau dan 1 pack snack Kau-Kau 20, imbas kod QR atau WhatsApp ke nombor Kau-Kau 0116229933. Anda berpeluang untuk memenangi sebuah iPad dan juga jersey bola sepak serta e-voucher Touch and Go. Okey, kita kembali ke ruang perbicaraan, ruang bicara. Back to discussion of a short review of the quarterfinals. Maybe Saad, we can start with the great goal from Neymar, but Croatia in the end won the penalty shootout against Brazil, the favourites.
Yeah, of course. We cannot say that it was a surprise because we talk about a big team as well.
Yeah, runners-up in 2018.
Yeah, of course, Croatia is the last finalist in Russia. But of course, if you look at the content of the game, we can say that Brazil dominates the game with more possession, more shots. They did all what it takes to qualify. But again, I believe that Croatia is used to play this type of game. For me, this is a really versatile team. You know, they can even defend for the whole game, or and
They can
sometimes
attack.
exploit and attack the situation that they get because they got also some top players.
Good players. Yeah.
And no one could believe at that time that when Neymar scored his goal, I think 105th minute, right?
They could equalize.
Yeah. They could equalize, but it was maybe out of this world to think that they will qualify. But then it showed that at that level, it's never ending.
Never to give up.
Yeah, you cannot stop to play, you cannot stop to fight. And I believe that the goal that they concede also shows something, because when you lead 1-0 in extra time, maybe you have to maybe manage better your structure, and they had the team
Park the bus.
split in two, not park the bus, but at least still have a structure, you know. They have the back four and the midfielder that were split with the rest of the team, you know. They continue to attack, and maybe at that time you have to show more experience, even from a top team.
The
like
Brazil, they had three good centre backs, you know, but maybe they lack that discipline. We had a very ill-tempered match between Argentina and your homeland, Peter. What do you think of the outcome, and also especially the psychological game throughout the penalty shootout, which led to this bad blood, you know, between Van Gaal and also Messi?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. But it wasn't unexpected, because there's a big history between these two countries, which already started in '78. But I think Holland, you know, South American mentality is a little bit different, and they are a little bit more street fighters than Holland. So I would say don't get involved. And I think it started a little bit with after the handball from Messi, then a massive foul on I think it was Ake in front of the dugout.
Ake,
the guy who shoots the ball into the
Paradis, to the bench.
And I think all that this happened. I also think that the referee lost a little bit of control. There are a lot of things that has happened earlier, he didn't do anything about it. And then these scenes at the end, and even where I think Messi let himself go, and some of the Dutch players as well. And believe it or not, apparently this all started from an interview with Louis van Gaal a day before.
The day before, the press conference,
Which was completely taken out of context by the Argentinians and the players. But they used it as adrenaline, and sometimes that goes against you because you go over the top. But then the stuff that happens after, when you have won, that should not be happening in a game of football. There's millions and millions of kids watching these games. You should not behave like that, in my opinion.
Okay, Zach, the first ever African side to advance to the semi-final stages, Morocco. Something Cameroon, Algeria, Tunisia, Senegal failed. The superpowers of Africa failed to do since 1978, when Tunisia was the representative of the continent, beating Portugal and entering the semi-finals.
Okay,
Morocco.
since this is the most talked about topic in Malaysia right now, so allow me to explain it in Malay. Because for the benefit of the viewers.
You want me to translate? No need.
You don't understand?
I lived here for 4 years.
Boleh faham sikit.
Boleh faham sikit.
This for the benefit of the viewers, for Sinar Daily as well. Okay, Morocco ni satu negara yang sebenarnya banyak produce pemain untuk kelab-kelab dunia. Tapi Morocco ni bukan tak familiar dengan Malaysia. Kita dah sama dengan mereka. Bukan Morocco saja, Kuwait, South Korea, Japan, especially dalam pesta bola merdeka dan pelbagai tournament lain di Korea, di Indonesia dan juga di Thailand. Tetapi apa yang berlaku sekarang ni adalah suatu magis yang dihasilkan oleh Morocco apabila mereka mendapatkan khidmat 14 orang pemain mereka yang lahir di luar negara, dan bukannya mixed marriage, but ada yang pelarian, ada yang keluar daripada Morocco untuk ekonomi punya problem. And macam mana Abbas juga
migrate.
Dia migrate.
Saad.
Macam Saad.
Abah Saad.
Datuk Abbas Saad tadi.
It's not the first one. You
No,
know.
I know. So Zinedine Zidane from Algeria and a lot of players yang main dekat Europe, especially di France dan juga Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Belgium. Diorang tu adalah daripada keluarga Morocco, ada yang datuk mereka atau ibu bapa mereka. Jadi ini satu benda yang saya rasa bukan saja membuka mata dunia tetapi membuka mata Malaysia, kerana sekarang kita tengok Malaysia dia dah mulakan naturalisation player dan juga pemain warisan. Tetapi apa kualiti yang kita ambil? Kita dan sejauh mana mereka ni betul-betul nak turun mewakili Malaysia, nak pakai baju Malaysia ni. Pemain Morocco, coach dia dilahirkan di France.
Walid.
Dan dia dikritik teruk oleh media di Morocco kerana mengutamakan pemain yang lahir di luar instead of using the local born players. Tetapi hasilnya yang didapat sekarang ni telah mematikan dan memadamkan semua kritikan daripada media yang mengatakan bahawa usaha dia ni akan menutup ruang pemain-pemain tempatan anak yang lahir di Morocco ni. Tapi sekarang ni mereka telah memberikan satu hasil yang cukup menarik dan ini patutnya diikuti oleh Malaysia. Kalau betul-betul nak pergi ke World Cup 2026 atau 2030.
Okay. So this we can go back to Helmi Ishak. Question number 1. How our Malaysian footballers could take Asian teams like South Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia achievement in the 2022 World Cup? Are we ready yet? How can we take this opportunity? How can we grab this opportunity? Maybe Peter might be able to answer this question from Helmi Ishak. Helmi boleh menang hadiah lah ni.
I have always said why not, but it takes a lot of people being on the same page. Your coach education, enough competition opportunities, all these things need to come together. Grassroots, that all needs to be in sync, and there needs to be a proper plan that is obviously being evaluated from time to time. But you need to be consistent in that and constantly think about what we do now, is that still going to be good enough in 2-3 years time, rather than but when you look at the makeup of Malaysian players and how popular football is in this country, talent is not defined by where you are born or which month you are born. Everybody is born equally. It is how do you groom
nurture
talent.
them,
and that's where the answer is, and that's not only coaching, that is not only, it is much more, it's opportunities for players. What happens to players are maybe not good enough when they're 12, but they will be when they're 20. What happens to all these players? Stuff like that, and I think there has been a lot of good things have been put in place, but it requires a lot more, and it requires consistency.
And will. 6 years you've been spending, as part of the decision-making process, and also talent scouting in NLDP. How do we go from here, Malaysia, Saad?
I believe, as Peter said, this is a consistency that makes the difference. If you talk about talent, of course there is talent in Malaysia. This one is clear. We have been traveling around the world sometimes with some AMD teams, and I can say that in under 13, 14 or 15 we can look anybody in the eye and compete everywhere. So it shows that there is quality, but then it takes a nation effort to contribute to that. And we talk about development, but as Peter says, there is a competition. We talk about the quality of the league. We talk about even more than all that, the football culture. So this is something that, of course, it's possible, but will take a long time. And to be consistent in this effort, it's something not easy. So I would like to see in the future maybe more clubs engage in development. Because you have only few clubs that today work in development. So the pool is quite small if you compare to all these countries. And if you compare with some countries that maybe achieve some result even without this type of programs, there is one element that is really, really important, and we maybe have less in Malaysia. This is the street football.
Street football?
Yeah, it's a football culture. You can go anywhere. If I go on the street, except maybe in some kampongs, I will rarely see some players playing on the street. But if you go in African team, African
They
country,
play everywhere and
you see
anywhere.
players everywhere. So it's not only a question of money, a question of infrastructures. This is
And
a whole
passion and
football
culture.
Yeah,
Yep,
this is important.
Okay, now back to England being shown the door by France. Saad.
I have to say, if I want to be honest, that looking at the game was quite unfair.
Unfair for England, eh?
Yeah, if you look at the content, I think they played quite well. They did all what it takes to qualify.
Yeah.
But again, now if we analyze that with some perspective also, we can say that it's happening often also with England. It's almost always the case in quarterfinal or maybe semi-final or whatever.
Yeah.
So it showed that also maybe the winning culture is maybe stronger in some countries, because this is not randomly that is happened in many competitions.
Okay. You've worked with Adrien Rabiot, Timothy Weah, Alphonse Areola at PSG as the under-14 coach, yeah? And how do you see your products and the players that you've nurtured playing at the highest level in the World Cup? And how do you see their contribution now?
Yeah, I would say first, it's not the players I product. You know, this is.
But you help coach, yeah.
We play a part, but this is of course a long-term process, and I've been involved in grassroots and scouting, coaching, or whatever. We are proud. We are proud. We are happy. I believe that without injury, we could have maybe 7 to 8 PSG product that would have played, because we got Maignan from AC Milan that got injured just before.
Mike Maignan,
Kimpembe injured.
Presney.
And Nkunku from Leipzig just injured.
Yes.
So of course,
all these players played for you at under 14 level?
Yeah, they were in PSG Academy, so this one is great. For Weah, he arrived lately because he was in New York Red Bull when he signed for PSG. So we are happy. We are proud, of course. This is amazing to see them at that level. So for some of them, you get in touch still. But
at that point of time, did you foresee that one day they would be representing France? And how would be their attitude at that age?
It's not easy because they are all different. Of course, you could see some potential. Otherwise, they would not be there. But it's really difficult to say this player will play the World Cup. You could maybe guess that most of them will become professional, but after to have a big career, this is something that is difficult to predict, because you need consistency, like we say. You need to avoid injuries. You need to be mentally really tough. But again, you could see from the young age that there was some talent to be nurtured. Yes.
Among the players that you mentioned just now, who would be you knew from your gut feeling that they would make the grade? Nkunku maybe?
Nkunku
Rabiot
was a top player, and then he was a late mature, so
late bloomer.
Yeah, until under 17 he was not even starting.
Okay.
So sometimes was difficult for him physically. So this is why, as Peter said, we have to be really patient. And you have some
and
players.
then he had to move to Leipzig in order to establish himself. Yeah.
No, he already started to play in PSG because they sold him for almost 15 million. So it was already a good prospect. But I would say that Rabiot and Coman were quite mature in the game, and they started to train and play with a professional at 17 years old. So you could see that they were already top. But one player like Timothy Weah, for example, when he reached PSG, was not the most talented, but top mentality.
Peter, before the French had Clairefontaine, you know, to nurture talent, the Dutch were known as the total football masters. You know? Maybe the best ever nation not to win the World Cup, 74-78 with Johan Cruyff and Rinus Michels. Where do you see their development plan now? You know, you produce the likes of Memphis Depay, you have Gakpo, Denzel Dumfries, but where do you see their future lies?
Well, I think there is a few more. I think in Holland there was at some point the thought that we couldn't develop players anymore. But I think what in those days and even in the 90s, Holland also had a top competition, a top domestic competition. I mean, when I was playing in the 90s, the Eredivisie, the Dutch Eredivisie, was a top 5 competition. And that was because our biggest players left only when they were 27. Now they leave sometimes before they're
As early
even
as
20.
Yeah.
And even in the 70s and 80s, we won Europa Cups. We won, and I think the fact that our players leave a bit earlier, and the quality of the league goes down. It also means that the average age of the teams in Holland also goes down. So there is less talent. They leave earlier. The foreign players are also not of the same level they were with Romario, Ronaldo, and that generation.
Those who played in the Dutch
So
league. Yeah.
before you know that, you become less competitive in Europe.
Yeah.
And now people are going to say you don't develop talent anymore because they're related to all of that. But we still develop talent. You mentioned 4 or 5, but I would say still Frenkie de Jong, Timber, Malaysia, the guy from PSG, Simons,
Xavi Simons.
Noah Lang.
Good player, yeah.
I think there is still enough talent developed in Holland. What I've missed in the last few years, and maybe Gakpo is a little bit the answer, is an out-and-out striker. I think we have been all of a sudden developing players that we were always told that we couldn't develop, and were actually defenders.
Oh, okay. So we'll go for another break before we discuss further. Only on the Footy Forum Qatar World Cup 2022. We'll be back.
Red One, back to basics.
Follow the Footy Forum for the latest from Qatar.
Check out the Sinar Daily social media platforms for the showtimes.
Stay tuned to the Footy Forum all the way till the final.
Red One, back to basics.
Thank you for staying loyal to the Footy Forum Qatar World Cup 2022, and thank you also for some of the comments that have been posted. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Tolong komen lagi dengan lebih kreatif untuk nanti kami pilih siapa yang boleh dapatkan hadiah-hadiah eksklusif. Tapi pada masa yang sama juga jangan lupa ya, Red One adalah penaja Footy Forum. Dapatkan free official football player jersey of Piala Dunia Qatar for you with Red One Postpaid. Simply switch to Red One Postpaid Hybrid 50 unlimited plan only at RM50 monthly, or to cost saving Red One Postpaid Amazing 38 plan at only RM38 monthly, and you will stand to win official football jersey of Qatar World Cup in the Demam Bola Red One lucky draw, and also get free Al Ihsan voucher worth RM50 for every registration. Okay. Let me read some comments. Saya bacakan. Ziha Omha, Peter and Saad, in your honest opinion, how long will it take and the process for Malaysia to be in the World Cup? When do you calculate in the development and competitions? Maybe Peter.
I'll let Saad go first.
Oh, okay, Saad, please.
I believe it's a good question, and
Yeah.
it's never easy to say that for any country, because even the most mature country sometimes doesn't qualify. So of course there are a few steps before. We need to have, of course, a league that is really performant. Then we need to have development programs, not only within for the national teams and national football development program in only few clubs, but something more consistent.
Nationwide,
but at clubs level, to increase the pool of players. And then only when this type of players will regularly play top football domestically or abroad, then you could create a top team. But even with that, it doesn't guarantee any qualification, because this is still 90-minute games. But of course, there are a few major steps that need to be taken, and some development and some progress that need to be continued.
Peter, today we have 32 teams being featured in the World Cup. But the next edition in Canada, Mexico and USA, there'll be 48. So that means bigger prospect for a team like Malaysia to qualify for the World Cup. Maybe eight slots as opposed to maybe 5 now for Asia. Is there a chance?
Wow.
In 4 years' time?
You don't need to be a football person to understand that increases the possibility. That's math.
Yes.
So but to come back on your former question, Japan and I would also say Korea were probably one of the first countries that started consistently doing things a certain way, according to a plan, and they started probably already 15, 16 years ago.
I would say, Peter, even
longer
than that.
Maybe even longer. I like to think I'm younger, but but what I'm trying to say is, their aim in Japan, they said, we want to be world champion in 2050. The generation that had to do that is not even born yet. You know what I mean?
True.
That's true.
But it doesn't need to take that long. But it depends if everything is set into place. The things that Saad just mentioned, whether it's proper youth competition, tiered youth competitions, and all these things all together, then it takes maybe a generation of players. But the trick here is consistency. That's where it usually goes wrong. And then it becomes a thing of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward. But what you need is the belief and the plan, and obviously quality people who implement that, and then stick
at all
to
levels.
it.
At all levels.
That is not only in terms of coaching. That's in terms of governance, administration of the game. That all needs to come together, and the problem usually is that there is a lot of. I've also noticed this a little bit in Australia. In football, there's a lot of like self-interest. The trick with football is that you need, wherever you are, you need to think bigger. What is in the best interest of football and the game,
rather than your personal interest.
Rather than and that also takes a little bit of a culture change.
You mean in Malaysia as well, a culture change,
in a lot of countries,
and the political will,
many countries,
and many countries.
Who makes football decisions? I mean, you know.
Zach, we have FM as the federation in charge of the national governing body. They have F30, which is the roadmap, and that has been shared with the public to let them know that actually there is a plan, a short-term plan or a middle-term plan. But can we achieve all the elements that is stated in the plan, in the F30?
Okay, people they can do whatever plan they want. They can design and they can develop whatever plan they want. But it belongs to, it comes back to the power that be, and the team, which consists of players and coach. How to go about it? I managed a league team in 2008 to 2010. Then after that, I managed players. I take players from Malaysia for the first time to go and play abroad. And I planned for 5 years to let this star, Safiz Ali, playing abroad. And I've tried for him to get a trial in Germany. But after 2 years, I managed him. Few clubs trying to get him back to Malaysia.
Back to Malaysia.
Playing in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, if you want to have Malaysia to go to the World Cup, first of all, you got to put Malaysia as among 10 best team in Asia.
In Asia.
And before you become 10 best team in Asia, you must consistently be number 1 team in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
You cannot sometimes in number 1, then going down to number 5 or number 4, then going back to number 2. No, you must consistently, if you target for 2026 World Cup, which if FIFA will start giving 8 slots to Asia. So in order for Malaysia to be one of the 8 slots, first Malaysia must be among the 10 best team in Asia. In order to have to make Malaysia become 10 best team in Asia, to me personally, I think that at least 20 players playing for Malaysia must not playing in Malaysian league.
Must be playing in the foreign league.
Must be playing foreign league, because you will learn a lot in foreign league. You will out of your comfort zone. What we have now is our players. I've managed players, a few players, professional players. They are very comfort. That's why our local players, when they are at very young age, they are performing very well. They work hard. They want to play for the club. They want to play for the nation. Everybody say, I want to play for Malaysia. But when they start getting money as a professional, they start to know the reality of the world. Have a girlfriend, have assets like cars, everything.
Big cars.
Everything gone. Everything gone. And look at what happened today. Call up for national team for AFF. Almost all the best players, they don't want to come for the training. They put nation as number 2. They go on for
because
holiday.
they feel that the AFF Mitsubishi Cup is not in the FIFA,
Are we number 1 in AFF
FIFA calendar.
in Southeast Asia?
We used to be lah.
We never be number 1 in AFF. We champion
Never,
once,
yeah, champion
only
in
once.
2010,
We
yes.
champion, but we are not number 1 in Southeast Asia. Thailand,
In
Vietnam
ranking,
are the
yes,
one that.
yes.
And I can say Thailand,
Yeah.
Vietnam, and the Philippines are always at the top from Malaysia.
Top 3,
We are not number 1 in Southeast Asia. So if you are already number 1, then we can talk about
That's the reality at senior level. You've been coaching at youth level. You know, you've been talent scouting for talent at age of 12 and above, and under up to 17. Yeah, but once they leave, I mean, like there's a question by Azizul Abidin. Coach Saad, yes, true. Our 12, 13, 14-year-olds can play internationally against any teams. But what happens to these players when they are 18, 19 years old? Can they maintain or expand the standard of playing and going abroad as professional players, as related as intimated?
That's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
You know, you have different way to perform at 13 or 14 or 15 years old. You can either perform because you select mature players, and it will lead nowhere, because eventually when they stop to go, some other players more talented will then go in some other countries and beat you. Or you can perform because you have talent and maybe consistent in the way you play. Today I believe that in Malaysia, and what we have done in MD show it, we have talented players that will be ready to continue to progress. That's clear. But again, MD is until 17. What happened after?
Yeah.
Today you have only few players that will provide, few clubs, that will provide for them a proper platform to continue to play. And if I'm not mistaken, Peter, a few years ago we were talking about that. We have in Malaysia one of the oldest league in the world.
Yep.
So how many young players got a spot in the team, and I mean the possibility to show their quality. As long as you work with coaches, maybe that only work on 1-year contract and always under pressure, it's difficult for them to launch some youngster players, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure, you know, if you talk about development, NFDP or AMD, because this is a national academy, is going until 17 years old.
Yes.
If you look at the definition of development in FIFA or UEFA, you know, in Champions League or whatever, you're considered a developed player or academy player if you spend more than 3 years within a club from 17 to 21 years old. So it shows you that this is not finished. So we need to make sure that these players, these young talented players can play. First maybe in Malaysia or somewhere else, but they need to play. That's
They
very
need to play.
important.
The problem is also the AMD players, those who are under 17, are also playing at youth level at Piala Presiden, President's Cup, which is for under 21 players. But they have already beaten older teams who are older.
Yeah, this is why.
Yeah.
But it shows you also that the country is progressing. I mean, through AMD, but also through other initiatives. Today we are playing with under 17 boys. We play under 22 league, and we went to semi-final. This is not normal. In my country, if you play 1 year older, you get smashed 5-0. So today we can play against under
Older
21
players.
and under 22.
And you beat them, yeah.
And most of the time we beat
Can
them.
I say something?
Yeah, sure, please, yeah.
Because obviously I listened about the performance of the seniors in AFF. I think what Saad says, I think in recent years the performances and results for the youth teams have never been better.
Yeah.
And that is largely thanks to AMD. And they only go to under 70 because that's where the real issue starts. I think there's still in the age group that Saad worked with at AMD. I still think there's two problems. There is a level of competition locally that they play in, and you would love to have that pool of players bigger. That's why Saad mentioned youth development at professional clubs. That it massively increases the pool, and you can create better competitions and more games. But whatever they do has been successful recently. When you now look where it goes wrong is the transition from these players into senior professional football.
Exactly.
They have been playing in the under 17, as you just said, in the under 21 competition. They're close to winning it. They now go to a club where they possibly play another 1-2 years in that same competition. That's not the level they should be playing at.
They should be playing at a higher level.
Yes, and I think the problem is that the under 21 competition is not suitable. There should be a different format for that one. And I think young players do not get enough opportunities to play in senior professional football, in Super League, Premier League. We have some opportunities. Once is because the average age, we're the oldest league amongst a lot of competitions. We're definitely on the top end. So if you don't play there, if you're the best of the best, you might play there. But if you're not, you need another 1 or 2 years. What is your alternative now? It's usually on the 19, but it should be maybe the Premier League, because we have a few teams that have feeder teams. But we're the only country in the world that allows some teams to have a feeder club in the Premier League without any rules regarding nationality and age.
Yes.
That means so for those ones who are not good enough to go there, they all play in the under 19 league, and they're good for that. And that is, in a nutshell, there is a performance gap between AMD and senior professional football, massive.
So how do we reduce that gap?
Well, for once, I think that young players maybe could get more opportunities in the Super League. That has something to do maybe with you can't force that. That has to do also with coaching. Do you stick with the experience, or do you go for the one that might not be winning you game next week, but he will win you the game in 3 months' time? Stuff like that. So are you going to judge a player? We judge young players with experienced players, but we look at a young player, what he can't do.
What he can't do.
What he cannot do.
What he cannot do, yes. Okay.
And we compare it with the old player, what he
With
still
the
gives
senior
you.
players, yes.
That's not a fair comparison
Okay,
either.
all right.
So that also has to do with coach education and stuff like that. But I think there should be more rules around feeder clubs. And that on the 21 competition, I think they should look at how to
reformat.
Look at other competitions where they have in Germany they do it, in Holland they do it, in Spain they all do it a little bit different, look for solutions. The aim is getting younger players in that competition, more opportunities, and look at the Malaysian infrastructure. How can we do that?
How they do that? I mean,
Well, in Holland, the first year they didn't have rules either. The problem now is that Ajax had a team in the second league,
Okay.
and they had a front line that was worth 40 million, playing against the other teams, right?
Okay.
So they were blocking the young players at Ajax, so they had to look at some rules too. But they do that differently everywhere. Japan does it different either. You need to look at what suits this situation.
Okay. Yeah, you were about to say something, Saad?
I think Peter will summarize all that, but there is, for me, at least 2 points that are really important in order to make Malaysia move one step forward, you know. If you talk about development, of course, the quality is important, but we cannot deny that the pool, I mean, the size of the pool of players is important as well.
Yeah.
And today, we were talking about AMD, but also maybe 1 or 2 other professional clubs that are working in development. But if you go to my country, because we were talking about Clairefontaine before, you know, we often talk about Clairefontaine, but there is 15 center of excellence.
Yes. Center de formation, yeah?
No, center of excellence from
At
the
regional
federation.
level? Ah, okay.
Federation, you have 15 academy with the same modus
Concept.
operational as Clairefontaine. But on top of that, you have also 14 professional clubs academies. So when you add all
So
this,
a total of almost 30 academies.
no, with the total of this, you got almost 55 to 60 full-time academies. So which makes the number of prospects really high. That's the first thing. And also, in order to push the Malaysian clubs to work on development, we cannot just say to them, okay, you need to work on development. We have to make them understand why it is important. Today in Malaysia, we don't see a young player as an asset. We see him as an expense, you know. You know, they spend money, oh, it costs me that, it costs me that, but they don't see what it could potentially bring them. A player is an asset. But why? Because there is no transfer market. Nobody can say, okay, I develop this player and I sell him. It doesn't exist. And they don't see the sense of belonging, how it is important. Today, if you take an average player in the league, local or import, it costs you at least 20 to 100,000 ringgit a month. But let's say you develop your own players, you can have maybe the top talent if you identify them for way lower than that and with a stronger sense of belonging. They will play for the club. And then naturally the ecosystem will grow and maybe, obviously, you could have maybe some transfer within the country.
Yes,
So
there must
that's
be a
very
transfer
important.
system, yeah?
If you don't have, nobody will say, I will invest in development because the players doesn't have any value.
Good. There's a comment from Putra Sunan. I think in Malaysia, the development from young age in soccer have lots of limitation. We need a proper plan from the right association of football. Perhaps we can look at how Japan and South Korea Football Association method to make sure they always qualify. We always refer to South Korea and Japan, but we cannot be copying them lock, stock and barrel.
You know Japan, we talk about that, but let's talk about patience. Patience is a key word in development. Japanese coaches were coming in France, I was still in development. And I'm talking about 25 years ago, 2-3 times a year, we saw some Japanese coaches coming in internship and spending some time to learn. It was 25 years ago.
In French clubs? French clubs?
In French clubs, in Clairefontaine or whatever. So we talk about development coaches 25 years ago. So it means that maybe they started to develop this project maybe 25 to 30 years ago.
And also coach education, they need to enhance that coach education where in order for them to educate the kids, Peter.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you wanna be more competitive internationally at senior level, you need to have produce better players, and better players start with better coaches and better coach education. It's as simple as that. But I also think that also for a coach to develop, you need opportunities, and more competition also means more opportunities for coaches to develop.
Okay, any last words, Zach, maybe? I need to talk about development and also reaching the World Cup for Malaysia.
Well, for Malaysia to reach the World Cup, it really needs passion from all parties.
Exactly.
Patience or passion?
Patience.
Both.
Both.
Both, because you see, now Malaysia is having a new government.
Okay.
So I hope the new government will provide a new approach on assisting the development of the young players and the development of the clubs, because you see, Japan, if you go back to Japan as our reference, Japan, they started their professional league a few years.
1993.
Is it Malaysia first or Japan doing it first? I think Japan first.
J-League fully professional in 93, yeah.
But now how many clubs do they have, professional clubs? More than 600 clubs. Malaysia, how many professional clubs? You see, even we have clubs, but every year in, year out, we are here, we are listening to non-payment of salaries, financial problem of the clubs. And how are you going to talk about development of players in Malaysia when the clubs itself, they have problem with the payment of salaries and everything. So it's all, and that will come to the family of the players. You develop young players to play for professional, but do you give confidence to the parents that you can help the family if you play football? There's a culture in Malaysia, you see. So if you can give confidence to the parents to allow their son to play football full time as a professional, and when the parents hear that some clubs they don't pay salary, 5 months, 6 months, no salary. So I don't think the parents will allow the children to proceed with football. Yeah, you can play football, but just for your leisure, but not professionally. You can go to college, you must go to a bank or whatever, find a better job and play football in the evening.
Thank you very much, Zach. Thank you very much, Peter and Saad.
Thank you
for spending your precious time with the Footy Forum. Stay tuned to the Footy Forum. Tomorrow night we'll be going live again with Peter and also Saad to be discussing the semi-final stages. Zach will be replaced by someone else as substitute. But okay. Thank you for the discussion. Well, it's football related, and key to success is of course development and a football culture. So stay tuned to the Footy Forum Qatar World Cup 2022, brought to you by Sinar Daily, and do not go anywhere. Tomorrow night we'll be going live again at the same time at 10 p.m. Good night.